In this more advanced tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to create a displaced surface like we're seeing on the face of this ogre. Usually, you could paint texture like that in, but it just doesn't look the same. If we can have this normal bump map, as it's called, it can help the surface appear like it's really got a lot of fine details and texture to it. Now, this is a little bit more of an advanced concept. You will need 3D skills to do this. In our case here, this 3D model has this normal map. And this is not something that you paint in Photoshop that you can create from scratch on your own. It needs to be generated by your 3D application. So we're going to be using this map to tell Element where to displace the surface of this ogre's face. I'll go to Normal Map Start, the composition here. And you'll notice here something interesting here, a little extra tip along the way, is that we don't have any images in our composition, and yet there is an image for the texture of this ogre's face. So I'm going to show you a little secret here. I'm going to click on Element, click on Scene Setup, and I'm going to click on the texture for this ogre's face. And we have the diffuse texture already loaded in. And so go ahead and click on Normal Bump. This is where we put that surface displacement, also called a bump map. In most applications, you can actually use a black and white image as a bump map, but here it has to be a normal map, kind of like the weird one I just showed you. So I'm gonna click on None Set, and typically what we've been doing is going to this drop down and choosing a custom layer. But what you can also do is click here where it says Load Texture to load a texture from your hard drive. So navigate to the media folder in the exercise files, navigate to the images folder in there, and select normalmap.png. Now, this really cool trick of just loading it in the quick style in the texture channel dialog box here only works with JPEGs and PNG files. All other files like these TIFFs or the CR2s, you'll need to load in the regular way using custom layers and then selecting it from the dropdown. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and this is kind of hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the lights from default lights to stylized. And now we can see that displacement in the surface a little bit more. As before, we can control the influence of this map by using this slider here. So if we want no influence, take it down to 0%. And you see as we increase this, it gets more and more ridiculous. So I'm going to take this to about 40 or 50, somewhere in there, maybe 60. That looks okay. Looking pretty good. And we could click OK. And now there is this displacement on our object. Creating this kind of displacement where we would have all these little vertices sticking out would be really difficult to do through modeling, and it would make our model much more robust and hard to work with. So these maps are kind of a great way to cheat that. One other thing about this is that this is not really changing the model. This is really a trick that this map is doing with the lighting. So if I select my camera and the unified camera tool, you can see that this surface looks really messed up and really detailed. But as I rotate around, you can see that the edge is smooth. So it's really not affecting the mesh at all, the 3D model. It's really just, again, a light trick that makes it look like there's a bunch of detail here. And it definitely adds to the complexity, the apparent complexity of the model. But really, it's not doing anything to the geometry of the actual object. And that is how you work with normal bump maps inside of Element.